Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are witnessing one of the most dramatic escalations in the Middle East, as reports confirm that Chinese death squadrons have officially landed in Iran with advanced aircraft and a new wave of untested missile technology that, according to intelligence assessments, are aimed directly at Israel's most critical centers. This move is shaking the entire region as Tehran and Beijing now appear to be working hand in hand in a military partnership that could trigger one of the most dangerous confrontations in years. The arrival of these forces is not just about exercises or symbolic gestures. It is a bold message from China that it is ready to play a direct role in reshaping the balance of power in the Middle East, and Israel is taking this threat extremely seriously. Initial information reveals that these squadrons consist of highly trained Chinese pilots operating some of the most advanced combat aircraft in Beijing's arsenal. The jets are equipped with strike capabilities that include precision-guided munitions and next-generation air-to-air systems that make them a formidable force. Intelligence agencies say the most alarming part of this development is the shipment of experimental missile systems that have never been used in combat before. These weapons are described as long-range hypersonic-capable systems that could bypass traditional missile defense shields, creating a level of unpredictability that Israel has not faced before. Satellite images show Iranian bases receiving these weapons and integrating them into their existing command structures. Tehran has paraded the presence of the Chinese forces on state media, showcasing images of joint operations between the Revolutionary Guard and the Chinese pilots, calling the partnership a shield against Western aggression in the streets of Tehran. There have been public celebrations marking the arrival of these squadrons, with commentators calling it a turning point where Iran is no longer standing alone but backed by a global superpower determined to challenge the United States and its allies inside Israel. The atmosphere is tense. The Israeli Air Force has already begun repositioning its aircraft and air defense units across the country, focusing on key sites like Tel Aviv, Haifa, and the Negev Desert. Israeli officials are warning the public of heightened risks while at the same time assuring them that the nation is fully prepared to meet any challenge. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has convened emergency meetings with his top defense and intelligence chiefs to evaluate the scope of the threat and to craft a comprehensive response strategy. Analysts say this development is part of a larger strategy by China to undermine American influence in the Middle East. For decades, the United States has been the primary external power shaping security dynamics in the region. But now, with Chinese forces physically present in Iran and with missiles pointed at Israel, the message is clear. Beijing is stepping into a new role as both a military and political power broker. Washington has already condemned the move, accusing China of pouring fuel on an already volatile situation, and the Pentagon has confirmed that it is closely monitoring Chinese and Iranian deployments, with discussions underway about sending additional defense assets to support Israel. The risk of escalation is extremely high because the introduction of untested missile systems raises questions about how Israel will respond in the event of a strike. Israeli defense systems like Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow are among the most advanced in the world, but their effectiveness against experimental hypersonic-capable missiles is uncertain. Military experts warned that even a single successful strike on Israeli soil could trigger a massive retaliatory campaign that would not only target Iran but potentially drag China into a conflict that neither side may be ready for. Regional allies are equally concerned. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, both of whom have long opposed Iranian expansionism, are quietly watching developments with unease. While they may welcome Israeli resistance to Tehran, they fear that a larger conflict involving China could spill over and destabilize the entire Gulf region. Oil markets are already reacting nervously, with prices climbing as traders fear that any clash could disrupt the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important waterways for global energy supplies, and Tehran leaders are emboldened. They see the arrival of Chinese squadrons as proof that their decades-long strategy of resisting Western pressure is finally paying off. Iranian generals have promised that any Israeli attack will be met with overwhelming retaliation, not only with their own arsenal, but now with the backing of Chinese technology. Iranian media outlets are broadcasting footage of missile convoys and Chinese aircraft in Iranian skies as a direct message to both Israel and the United States that they are prepared for confrontation. Inside Washington, policymakers are divided. Some argue for a strong military response to deter Beijing from deepening its presence, while others caution that direct escalation with China could spark a larger conflict that would stretch its resources at a time when Washington is already deeply engaged in Europe and the Indo-Pacific. The Biden administration has reportedly held urgent talks with Israeli officials, exploring the possibility of deploying additional Patriot and THAAD batteries to the region as a precaution. Israeli citizens, meanwhile, are living under the weight of constant alerts, with defense officials quietly preparing for scenarios that could include missile barges, cyber attacks, and coordinated assaults from Iranian proxies in Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. The sense of a multi-front war is becoming increasingly real as the involvement of China amplifies. The scale of the threat: military exercises have been ramped up across Israel, with pilots flying constant patrols and ground forces reinforcing border positions. This unfolding crisis also highlights a broader geopolitical struggle. China has been expanding its influence across the global south, forging alliances and offering military technology to states that oppose U.S. dominance by landing death squadrons in Iran. China is not only supporting Tehran but also positioning itself as a power willing to directly confront Israel, a close ally of Washington. This could reshape how nations across the region view the balance of power, as some may begin tilting toward Beijing out of fear or opportunism. Critics of the Iran-China partnership warned that deploying untested missiles in such a volatile environment is reckless and could easily spiral out of control. Unlike Russia, which has tested many of its weapons in Syria, Chinese missile systems remain largely unproven, and if deployed recklessly, they could misfire or strike targets, causing catastrophic consequences and further inflaming regional tensions. For Israel, the challenge now is not only defending its territory, but also recalibrating its military doctrine to deal with a major power like China. Prime Minister Netanyahu has reportedly reached out to European leaders seeking their support and stressing that the arrival of Chinese forces in Iran is not just an Israeli problem, but a threat to the broader stability of the West. In his words, the Middle East is being turned into a testing ground for a new global order. As events unfold in the coming days, the possibility of miscalculation looms large. One mistaken launch, one accidental clash, or one provocative strike could unleash a chain of events that neither Israel, Iran, nor China may be able to control. What is clear is that the arrival of Chinese death squadrons in Iran is not a temporary development. It marks the beginning of a new chapter in the struggle for dominance in the Middle East, a chapter that will test the resolve of Israel, the patience of the United States, and the ambitions of China. This is a rapidly developing story, and every indication is that the region is standing at the edge of a major conflict, with Chinese and Iranian forces openly aligning against Israel and by extension against Washington. The entire world is watching, and the consequences of the next move will be felt far beyond the borders of the Middle East.